Let me tell you a story. It's a story about a corporate rebel, a secret deal that went sideways, a very public betrayal, and how all of that led to a global empire that completely changed the way we play. Yep, this is the story of the PlayStation.
You know, when you think about these world-changing inventions, we usually know who was behind them. But what about one of the most successful entertainment products of all time? Who's the genius, the visionary behind that?
Well, his name is Ken Kutaragi, and to really get how he built this massive gaming empire, you have to understand one thing about him. He never, ever liked to play by the rules.
This guy was curious from day one. I mean, as a kid, he was taking apart his toys, messing with the machines at his family's printing shop, not to break them, but just to figure out what made them tick. That passion for electronics was in his blood, and it eventually landed him a job as a super smart young engineer at Sony.
So, back in the 80s, Kutaragi sees his daughter just totally mesmerized by her video games, and for him that was a real light bulb moment. He realized, wait a minute, these aren't just toys. This is the future. This is the next great frontier in entertainment, and that, right there, was his call to adventure.
But here's the thing. Kutaragi's big vision was about to put him on a collision course with his own bosses at Sony, and it led him to make a secret deal that honestly could have gotten him fired.
Okay, so you have to remember, Kutaragi was an audio expert. And the sounds coming out of game consoles back then, just simple beeps and boops, it drove him crazy. He knew that to make people feel like they were in the game, you needed rich, complex sound, you needed to build a world with audio. And he had the skills to do it.
So what does he do? He goes behind his bosses' backs. See, the Sony execs thought video games were just a silly fad, a total waste of time for a top-tier engineer. But Kutaragi believed in the future. So, in secret, he designed a revolutionary sound chip, the SPC 700, for Sony's biggest rival, Nintendo. Can you imagine the guts that took?
And when his bosses found out, oh man, they were furious, livid. Kutaragi was this close to getting fired. His career was hanging by a thread. But then, in this amazing pivotal moment, the CEO of Sony himself, Norio Oga, stepped in. Oga didn't see some rogue employee, he saw a visionary who was on to the next big thing. He didn't just save Kutaragi's job, he gave him the green light for his next big idea.
And this is what came out of it, an official partnership between Sony and Nintendo. They called it the PlayStation. Notice the space in the name. It was basically a Super Nintendo that could play both the old cartridges and these new huge CD-ROM games, all powered by Sony's tech. It really felt like the future of gaming had arrived.
But this dream team, this perfect partnership, it was about to completely blow up in the most public, most dramatic way you can imagine. And it set the stage for one of the biggest rivalries in the history of tech.
So picture this. It's June 1991 at the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, one of the biggest tech events in the world. Sony is on the show floor proudly showing off their PlayStation prototype. They're ready to pop the champagne and celebrate their grand entrance into the video game world.
And then, the bombshell drops. The very next day, Nintendo gets on stage for their own announcement. And they don't just cancel the deal with Sony. They announce they're now partnering with Sony's arch rival, Philips, in front of the entire industry. It was a complete and utter public humiliation. Just brutal.
Now, a lot of people at Sony just wanted to pack it in. They felt betrayed, they felt foolish, and they wanted nothing more to do with video games. But Ken Kutaragi, he was built different. For him, this wasn't a defeat. Oh no, this was a declaration of war. He was more fired up than ever before.
So Kutaragi took all that anger, all that determination, and he used it to forge a brand new path. He was going to convince Sony to stop trying to partner up and start building its own gaming destiny.
And you got to understand, this guy was not your typical quiet Japanese executive. He was a rebel. The stories are legendary. He once settled a design argument by arm wrestling a colleague. He threatened to quit if the project got canned. He even publicly told the old guard at Sony to get out of the way. That kind of behavior was unheard of, but it was exactly what was needed to keep this wild dream alive.
He went straight back to CEO Norio Oga, who was, still absolutely furious about the Nintendo betrayal. And Kutaragi made his big pitch, forget them. Let's use our own tech, our own engineers, our own vision, and build our own console. Let's take on Nintendo and Sega ourselves.
And this right here shows you just what a massive leap he was proposing. While everyone else was still focused on flat, 2D, side-scrolling games, Kutaragi's big bet was on 3D. This wasn't just about making things look cooler, it was about creating worlds. Real, explorable worlds with depth and freedom. It was the birth of cinematic gaming, and it was aimed at a more mature, grown-up audience.
Look, Kutaragi's idea was a huge, massive gamble. But it was a gamble that was about to pay off bigger than anyone could have possibly imagined. And it would end up redefining entertainment for decades.
And here it is, the PlayStation. When it launched in Japan, it was an absolute phenomenon, right out of the gate. Its focus on mind-blowing 3D graphics and CD-quality sound brought in a whole new, older audience. Suddenly, video games weren't just for kids anymore. This was a mainstream cultural event. Gaming was officially cool.
So how'd it do? Well, the original PlayStation became the very first video game console in history to ship over 120 million units around the world. The Rebel hadn't just won the war, he'd built an empire.
And that was only the beginning. Kutaragi's original vision built the foundation for a dynasty that has pretty much dominated the industry ever since. Each new generation just kept pushing the limits of what was possible in technology and in storytelling.
So when all is said and done, what's the real legacy of this stubborn, rebellious engineer who just refused to take no for an answer? Well, it's way, way bigger than just one successful product.
Kutaragi's relentless push didn't just turn Sony into a gaming giant. He helped prove to the whole world that video games could be a powerful art form. They could deliver these deep, cinematic experiences that were every bit as compelling as a Hollywood movie. He literally changed the game.
You know, this whole incredible story started with something so simple, a father just watching his daughter play a game. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What huge, world-changing idea is hiding in plain sight in our own lives, right now, just waiting for someone with the guts to see it and build it?